Well, now we'd like to take a deeper dive into that new push to reform the nation's gun laws. In a vote today, the House of Representatives passed two bills expanding background checks on gun sales. A handful of Republicans actually joined Democrats voting in favor of these two measures. So will they actually become law under President Biden and with a Democratic-controlled Senate? ABC's Elizabeth Schulze explains what's in these bills and what's next.
Almost 6 years ago, 9 black parishioners died in a horrific shooting at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston. Now, the so-called Charleston loophole bill aims to close a gap in the system that allowed the Charleston shooter to buy a gun in the first place. Under current law, if a purchaser doesn't get immediate approval through the automatic background check system, the FBI has a maximum of 3 days to investigate. After that, the sale can proceed by default. The Charleston loophole bill would increase that window to 10 days. The measure passed the House in 2019 and was reintroduced by House Majority Whip and South Carolina Democrat Jim Clyburn.
This law would have prevented that gentleman from getting a gun. Now, I don't know why the other side continued to misrepresent what we're trying to do here.
The second bill, called H.R. 8, would require universal background checks for all firearm purchases, including those made through unlicensed sellers online or at gun shows. In the wake of the mass shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, the House passed the bill in 2019 with bipartisan support. But then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell didn't take up either of these bills.
We're not going to be the legislative graveyard, very simply.
The question now is if 10 Senate Republicans would join all Democrats to achieve the 60 votes needed to pass the bills.
As a survivor of gun violence myself, Congress is refusing to pass this vital legislation would be America's shame and burden for generations to come.
Moderate Senate Republicans like Susan Collins and Pat Toomey, who've previously supported gun control legislation, will now be forced to go on the record in favor or against the background check bills. The NRA opposes both measures.
We do not have mass shootings because of a lack of background checks. This bill will not make our communities safer.
Our founding fathers gave us a list of items and said, don't touch these things. And I'm telling you,
Gentlelady's time has expired.
Keep your hands off.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Members are.
For President Biden, the stakes are personal. The Senate failed to pass a sweeping background check bill following the tragic shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School when Biden was vice president.
I will say that the president is somebody throughout his career who has advocated for smart gun safety measures. He has not afraid of standing up to the NRA.
And Elizabeth Schulze, who brought us that report, joins us live now. Elizabeth, so what do you think the chances are for these bills in the Senate where Democrats have that razor-thin majority with Kamala Harris casting the deciding vote, given also that some 80% of the American people, when pollsters ask them, say they want enhanced background checks?
Well, Terry, that is certainly what Democrats in the Senate point to, those polls saying that there is bipartisan support for these stricter background check laws. And we heard from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer today, who vowed to bring these bills up for a vote because of the support from the American people. And that is more than has happened in the past under a Republican-controlled Senate. But there's just no doubt about it. Getting to those 60 votes is an uphill battle. Some of the gun control advocacy groups that I've been speaking with say that while they hope that some of the moderate Republicans can get there on this, if they don't, it's just another reason to get rid of the filibuster and try to pass these with a simple majority. Of course, we know that's its own hurdle in the Senate in itself. So in the meantime, there are some Senate Democrats who are pushing President Biden to move forward with executive orders here on his own instead. Particularly, there's a push to pass an executive action that would close a loophole on the sales of ghost gun sales. These are guns that are unlicensed without serial numbers. And that seems to have a little bit of momentum. We haven't heard an official line from the White House, but we know that this is an important issue to President Biden.
So maybe get a piece of it with executive action, but really to do anything of any significance on this, you need legislation because the problem is pressing and national as well. What can you tell us about the state of gun violence right now in the U.S. and what impact has the pandemic had on it?
Yeah, so there has been an increase in gun violence and gun sales over the past year. This is a trend we've seen since the pandemic started. Gun sales have steadily been increasing. And in January, there was a record number of background checks on firearms conducted by the FBI. Some point to increased violence, like the Capitol attack. Others point to protests, but also just this sense of fear from the pandemic. Some say that's leading people to go out and buy guns. But notably, because of this increase in sales that has particularly contributed to some more violence, there has been also an increase in background checks, and some advocacy groups are pointing to a backlog in the background check system now as an even further reason to pass these background check bills that would extend the time that it takes to get these checks done to make sure that the people who are buying guns are the ones who should be buying them in the first place.
But as you point out, Elizabeth, an uphill fight in the Senate. Elizabeth Schulze, thanks for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.